But there were only like 3 people there.
Really?
Because there was, I was at a police commission meeting. Half of them were leaving to go to the POCD thing.
Yeah,
By the time I got home, it was like
Christine Cohn was there.
That's too bad. There were only a couple of people there,
Christine
right?
Cohn was there, and Marty Carlson.
and who was that?
Mike.
Carlson. He's the regional.
I ran into Jim Ball with Brooks Brothers Saturday. Doesn't look any better.
No?
He's a sick man.
Yeah.
Got a lot of problems.
Asking how we were doing.
You didn't get any blank paper today.
Yeah, you should be.
You didn't get any.
You need it here?
Yeah, I have one piece there.
Take it home.
Hey, Tom, how are you?
What's going on, Bobby? Not much. Call the town council meeting to order for Tuesday, February 19th, 2019. We'll start first with salute to the flag. Roll call.
Mayor Duty.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Angeloni.
Here.
Counselor Candelora.
Here.
Counselor Diamond.
Here.
Counselor Fawnin.
Here.
Counselor Miller.
Here.
Counselor Rose.
Here.
Counselor Viglione.
Here.
And Counselor Zampiano.
Here.
Motion to approve the February 5th, 2019 Water Pollution Control and Town Council meeting. Minutes.
Second, with one correction on page 7 of the minutes, the second paragraph, when it's talking about the fire pension, and it's that it should be $3,000 a year, not a month.
Any other corrections? Roll call.
Mayor Duty.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Angeloni.
Yes.
Counselor Candelora.
Yes.
Counselor Diamond.
Yes.
Counselor Fawnin.
Yes.
Counselor Miller.
Yes.
Counselor Rose.
Yes.
Counselor Viglione.
Yes.
Counselor Zampiano.
Yes.
We'll move into regular town council meeting. Reports of committees, boards, and commissions. Economic Development Commission.
There was no meeting since the last meeting.
Park and Recreation.
Their next meeting is next Thursday, and it's for their budget, to finalize their budget.
Police Commission.
Police Commission met on Monday, February 11th. A number of things on the agenda. They reviewed the proposed 2019-20 budget for the police department and communications. They presented a retirement badge to Mayor and former Deputy Chief Mike Duty. They voted to use funds from the current budget out of the 101 account, since there are some people that don't have online right now, to purchase, I think it's in tonight's budget, agenda, 1 police vehicle and 2 license plate readers, which would then help other departments in terms of the capital budget for next year. And they continue to deliberate on the process for hiring a police chief. There's a meeting tomorrow night, which is the second round of interviews.
Thank you. Fire Commission.
The fire commissioners and the chief talked about the upcoming budget. That was about it.
Board of Education and Town Council Communications Subcommittee.
We met tonight at 6 o'clock. The main item on the agenda was the elevator at the high school, which is from 1972, and it is out of commission right now. They have fixed it as much as they can, and there are no more parts available so they need to replace it. So they have been working with various companies. They are going to put it out to bid to get it repaired. They're gonna do, the bid specs are going to have an add alternate in there to replace new, so that we can see the cost of just repair and also, to get a new elevator in there. And for any students that need to use the elevator, they have been making accommodations, for those students for classes and everything, so that they are meeting their needs. No matter what they do, the parts would have to be made for the, once they go out to bid, and they're looking at 10 to 12 weeks, so it probably will not get repaired until late in the school year or over the summer time. The estimated cost right now for repairing is probably somewhere $85,000 to $90,000 for repairing the elevator. We also had discussion in regards to personnel and the combining of the finance director position between the town and the Board of Ed, and our next meeting date. Because we have some budget meetings scheduled with them coming up, our next regular meeting with them will be in May after the referendum, May 21st.
Thank you. Town Planning Goals Subcommittee,
No meeting?
Planning and Zoning Commission?
They met and they received the application for the medical center on the town line on Route 139. And they received a re-subdivision application on Totoket Road for one where they had approved 12 or 13 lots. And there was a town road and they're looking to do 7 or 8 lots, Kurt, is that right? With no town road. 10 lots with no town road. And that's really about it.
East Shore Health District Department, Permanent Project Building Committee.
No report.
Town Manager's Report, update on Plan of Conservation Development.
Yes, in your packet, you'll find a memo from the town planner, Carrie Duquesne. It's a brief update that she's working with Malone and McBroom on a survey for the future town center development. So what they've done is collaborated to put together a survey to get out, which is listed there. It's going to be www.nbpocdsurvey.com, and hopefully that will go live tomorrow, if not tomorrow, Thursday. And it'll be part of an attempt to gather information from residents about that particular project at the town center. So that's the latest. We are also, she's working on trying to get the committee together to continue to look at the workshop that we had and digest all of that information. So it's a continues to be a work in progress, and like I said, hopefully the survey will go live tomorrow.
Thank you. Garbage and recycling contract?
Yeah, this is just informational purposes that there are, the recycling markets, world market has been turned upside down with China's refusal of recycling. So the ramifications are coming back to the U.S. and manifesting itself with respect to Connecticut and the way we do recycling and carry out our recycling programs and what it costs us to do those programs. So we're meeting, have met with Johns, we'll continue to meet with Johns, but the impact is significant. As my memo indicates, at one point in time, the Johns Recycling was receiving almost $12 a ton, and now that pendulum has completely swung the other way, where they could be paying up to $95 a ton to dispose of those plastics and cardboard, paper, and things of that nature. So it's an industry in turmoil right now, trying to figure out where this is going to happen. But China was the major receiver of almost half the world's plastic and recyclables, and they closed that down, shut that down, and I don't think that the U.S. market was prepared for that. And so a lot of industry and operators are stockpiling these this waste, and it's becoming a major problem. So we're trying to work through that with respect to the contract and what's going on. I'm not sure where we end up, but I want it to be on the radar for the council. with respect to enforcing our contract and sticking with our contract. So I've asked Vin to take a look at that I'm understanding the contract correctly, and that we will be at some point, not this year, but I think next year, or 2021, looking at, a new contract. In some way, shape, or form, this is going to have to be, borne out with respect to where the rates, what happens in 2 years, I'm not quite sure, but we're just trying to get through their problem, help them work through their problem at this point.
Well, according to everything that I read in here, so it's roughly about $10,000 a month
Yeah.
more that they're looking for, correct?
Yeah.
The recycling, okay.
Yeah.
And I'm in the process of reviewing the contract to see whether or not there's a basis for that claim. They may be in a tough position, but as a matter of contract, we may be on strong footing to say, it's your problem, not ours. But I haven't gotten to complete my review of the contract.
Yeah, so, I mean, it'll be ongoing, I'll monitor it, and we can report back at some time when we have something to report with respect to where that conversation goes.
Thank you. Next item is community events and presentation on town audit. Darren offer to Michael Acevedo and Woodbridge and Casano.
Yeah, pleased to introduce Darren Offerdahl tonight, who's one of the partners of Machad, Accavello, Woodbridge, and Casano. This is their first year auditing the town's books. You should have in your packets 2 documents that they provided, as long as with a cover memo from myself. And Darren will address this.
Good evening, members. I'll try not to bore you with too much of the audit detail, but I will go over, highlight some of the highlights of it, and just go over some of our required communication as your auditor. As Anthony mentioned, my name is Darren Offerdahl. This was our first year auditing you guys. I think the audit went very well, very smoothly for our first year transition audit, and your audit was issued timely. Yes, the last day, but it was issued timely, no extension. And we were pleased to be able to do that. We are, as I mentioned, I'll talk a little bit about our responsibilities and the management's responsibilities. We're responsible to issue an opinion. The opinion that we issued was an unqualified opinion on your financial statements, which is the opinion you want from your auditor. During our audit, we found no significant deficiencies or material weaknesses within your financial statements or within your compliance with your grants and so forth. So no findings this year. Another good thing to hear from your auditor. Management's responsible for things such as accounting policies, quality of accounting and reporting and so forth, and accounting estimates. And I can tell you that during our audit, the one thing we noted about the bookkeeping and management and so forth was that things were kept very well and very clean. So I'm glad to report that as well. We had no difficulties encountered in performing our audit. That's good. That means we were able to get everything that we needed, that there were no disagreements or so forth with management. Another good thing to hear from your auditor. There were no audit adjustments. We had some reclassifications for financial statement purposes, but no audit adjustments. Another good thing to hear from your auditor. We found no fraud or illegal acts during our audit, and as of tonight, we are still independent of you guys, which we're required to be. So all good things, as I mentioned, to hear from your auditor. As I had previously mentioned, we had no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies. As we were going through the audit, whether it was the revenue cycle, the expenditure cycle, financial reporting cycle, we may have come across some things where we had some suggestions for management to perhaps improve some things. I don't tend to put those in writing as an auditor. I just talk to management about it. If I think that it needs to be in writing, I'll then report it to you guys, put it in writing and report it to you guys. I had none of those this year as well. I really felt that the audit went very smooth and was very pleased with the outcome and everything we were able to to obtain and work with management and so forth. So hope they felt the same way. And that's it. Any questions?
It's a good
Thank you
report.
very much.
I just want to, since we have you here, I think it's important and significant to note the undesignated fund balance.
Sure.
And if you want to speak to that,
I can certainly do that. Okay, let me just pull that.
I think
Got
it's, I
everything
think you
right in
reference it
front of me.
on I think it's page 14.
The fact that you know the page, that's impressive. So if you want to take a look, what I actually like to look at, other than the management discussion portion there, I like to look at page 22, which are your fund balances there. And you can see, these are all your funds. You can see that your undesignated general fund balance is about a little over $1.2 million. That is important to note. You did have an increase in your general fund. If you look to page 24 of the financial statement, you did have an increase in your general fund, a little over $1.5 million this year. Another important factor to note.
Thank you.
You're welcome, thank you.
Next, we'll move into citizen statements, petitions, and correspondence. Seeing none, we'll move into resignations and appointments.
You have one.
Ken Newbig, 180 Village Street. Couple concerns. Obviously, tax increases. Okay, that's my biggest thing, and also the fire department pension. I wasn't at your last meeting 2 weeks ago. I didn't realize the pension was going to be coming up for the fire department, but I did watch it. Couple things came up: a rich pension, capping the pension. I don't feel that it's a real rich pension. I've got a statement here of 34 years of service, and at 65, a fellow that gave 35 years would be collecting around $900 a month at the age 65. Okay, and I think Anthony spoke. I believe isn't it at age 65 you stop accruing points? You could stay on till you're 70. So that would mean 47 years. The most, if a guy started at 18, went to 65 years, if I did the math right, it's 47 years. And I think the multiplier right now is 28 change. But if you use 29, that person that gave the town 47 years would be, at age 65, would be collecting $13.63 a month at age 65. Okay. The multiplier that I believe the department was talking about, if you were to continue at 50 cents a year, I believe it's going to cost the town around $7,000 a year. And if that was to go to $1, which that's here and there, that would cost around $14,000. But let's leave that for you to think about and go back to paying taxes. I do own my own house. I have quite a bit of property in town, and taxes are my main concern. If you started capping the members' to 20 years, 25 years, you're gonna lose the core of your department that's keeping this department from going paid. I've been in the ditches, per se, I'm not a chief officer, but the older guys that are here are the dedicated ones that are getting the vehicles out year and year, year after year, and going on. And if you think about capping it off, I think it's your biggest step toward a paid department, and a paid department would increase your taxes tremendously more than what this pension is, is costing the town. So just keep that in your mind. Taxes are what I'm here to keep down. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to resignations and appointments. There's none listed. Move to unfinished business, discussion and action. Future budget plan and initiative regarding the fire pension.
I would just like to say, I know this has been a big topic in the last couple of meetings. And so later on in our agenda, we have an item of reestablishing our finance subcommittee for the town council. And if that happens, I would like to see a committee formed between the finance subcommittee of the town council and the fire department, which would include the chief, one commissioner, and one representative from each company. And that committee would then sit down and start discussing pension and everything else, so moving forward, so that for this year, for the budget, I believe the multiplier is just staying where it's at 2820. So that would just stay so that we can go ahead with this year's budget, but we can start working and planning for next year and future budgets. And I think we owe it to the fire department to sit down and determine this, so that we can have a dialogue with you and we can all come to the table and start discussing this. So once that action takes place later on, depending on what happens, then I will formally make a motion to move ahead with that.
Next is personnel rules and regulations of the merit system.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. This is a matter that continues to be under review by my office, and because of some issues that we're looking at, I would ask that for the moment, we're not going to be prepared to make any presentations, and it asks that it come off the agenda, and then when we're prepared, we'll have it put back on the agenda.
Thank you. Update on 944 Totucket Road remediation.
Yeah, Kurt was in touch with the surveying company, and they were out there today, but unable to proceed with any further development because of the ice conditions or the environmental conditions out there. But it's on their radar, and they are going to keep getting out there to try and get that done to finish their work, so they can get into the application process. Unfortunately, nothing new to report at this time. It's just weather dependent.
Next is a review of House Bill 5765 and draft resolution for tax deferral program.
Yes, I prepared a short memo for you indicating that essentially this government has now reopened, and that our two families affected have paid and are current on their taxes at this point. I don't believe there's any, unless the council wants to proceed, there's no reason to proceed with that.
Okay, move into new business, discussion action report on 2018 grand list by David Ambrose, assessor.
Yeah, unfortunately, David is sick and could not be here. The report is in your packet, and I would suggest that we invite and bring David back for the March 5th meeting. However, I think it is good news. You can read in the report there that the net effect for the grand list growth is 1.25%, which we haven't seen since I've been here. It's been rather anemic, and to push beyond a 1% to 1.25% is significant. And I'll let David speak to what he found and what he's been pursuing in order to how he got to that number. There's quite a bit of information and analysis in there, but I think you'd be well served hearing from David on the 5th.
Good. Next is creation of North Branford Police Department Facility and Town Center Advisory Committee.
Yeah, this is just in response to the last council discussion on whether or not, you amend the ordinance or change the ordinance. One way is you do have the ability and the authority to create your own facility. So I took a stab at putting that on there for the council for your consideration and calling it the North Branford Police Department Facility and Town Center Advisory Committee. If that's the wish of the council to begin to explore and develop that concept up until the point where you get ready to bid and/or bid it, and after bid, and then turn it over to the Permanent Project Building Commission, but that's entirely up to the council. Just a starting point for conversation.
So I think we need to do that. I think that the building committee does a great job after they have a contract and they can just administer it. After sitting at a couple of meetings with them, I'm not sure they want to be the group that is going to make the tough decisions on picking the spot and actually designing the building. So I think that, none of them said that, but I think it would be better for, because, we're going to take heat on it. We should make a committee of our elected officials that are going to stick their neck out and do something like that and go from there.
I would agree with Al, and I think we have to move. All of a sudden, we've slowed down as a result of that, and I agree that I don't think that particular committee is as aware as many of us are of what the needs are and how far we have gotten, and we've kind of now lost some time. So
Yeah.
I totally agree with Al.
I agree with Al, and I don't think they were tasked with, coming up with a plan and coming up with a design. And I think that's, something that people closer to that would be better off doing.
So if we make a committee, I'd serve on it.
I'd serve on it.
So-
Marie, are you gonna serve on it?
Yes, I would serve on it.
Okay, and do you want your two people from the police commission that were appointed to the building committee
I
to
think
be on that?
I think we need them.
Okay, so I would like to make a motion to form the North Branford PD Facility and Town Center Advisory Committee with 3 town council members, Mayor Judy, Councilor Rose, and Councilor Diamond, and 2 police commission members, Victor P. DeAndrea and Dave Palumbo.
Second, somebody second?
Well, I can't second it if you put my name in there, right?
I'll second.
So would we have to be just 3 counselors if somebody else wanted to volunteer to go out another night, or?
Do you want an
Somebody wants to
alternate?
go out?
And-
Yeah.
Do you want an alternate? So that in case someone can't, you
Yeah,
don't want
then
the
we can do
committee
that.
too big that,
I agree.
because then it's hard getting meeting dates, so,
Make Anthony an alternate.
okay.
Great.
So I'll amend the motion and have 1 alternate, Anthony Candelora.
Joel, you go along with that?
I'll second.
Do we need to do
No.
that?
Okay,
All set?
Mhm.
Roll call.
Okay, Mayor Duty. Mayor Duty?
Yes.
Okay. Deputy Mayor Angeloni?
yes.
Councilor Candelora?
Yes.
Councilor Diamond?
Yes.
Councilor Fawnin?
Yes.
Councilor Miller?
Yes.
Councilor Rose?
Yes.
Councilor Biglione?
Yes.
Councilor Zampiano?
Yes.
And next item is reactivation of the Finance Subcommittee.
So I agree with what Rose stated earlier, that, so let's, because I talked with a couple of counselors who weren't here when we had a finance subcommittee. So I'll give a brief history of the finance subcommittee, or at least as I see it. So there was a finance subcommittee always. And this is only my opinion. Somehow, in my opinion, it lost its way
a few years back, and it actually became more powerful than was allowed. And so a few things were going on, and then it would come to the council floor, which we are the financial board in the town, and it would be like, oh, we did that in finance. So I'm sitting here like, well, what? We're the financial board of the town. How did they do it in finance? So I opened my big mouth and said, let's eliminate it. We're the financial board of the town. And so this finance subcommittee, it had meetings with every group in town, the Board of Ed, and everything else. We eliminate it. We're the financial board of the town. Not one of those groups has come to ask the same questions in front of us on TV. And I found that a little bit strange. But at any rate, in thinking about this, there's a lot of work that needs to be done in educating ourselves with the fire department pension for one thing. So if we did this, I mean, I would support creating a financial subcommittee, but I would want it to be, and I called Lisa today, I would like it to only be able to hear what the town council sends to it, and make it be known that they can't vote on anything, or if they did vote on it, it means nothing other than a consensus to bring back to the council. So that's, you know, and I do not want to serve on a financial subcommittee. So.
Well, I'll say I served on a finance subcommittee for a number of years with like Rose, Joe, and I found it very informational, very good. I thought, you know, we provided a lot of information to the council, which I think is what we're supposed to do. You know, we'll do
I agree
all
with
the
that.
groundwork, so to speak, and then report back to.
Right, the subcommittee cannot vote on anything. All they can do is kind of take a vote to recommend to bring it forward or not bring it forward. But it has no binding authority as to make any legislative or to make any changes to anything. It's just an advisory subcommittee.
So if the
And I
town,
would-
so if the town council directs, directs information to this proposed subcommittee, and the subcommittee decides not to bring it forward, it doesn't come back to the town council?
Well, they would bring back the finding. I mean, they don't necessarily vote on, I'll just take fire pension because that's been the topic. So whatever is decided at that subcommittee level, they cannot vote on it and say, this is what it is. They would bring the information back to the council, and the whole council has to vote on it.
Okay, so you think they'll go into greater depth in the discussion than is possible here?
Right, it takes it out of the, instead of having, I think that discussion on the fire pension is very much needed, but I don't think it's, the public forum like this is not the forum to do it at. And a subcommittee level is a much more productive area to talk about it, and then the subcommittee brings it back to the council. It's kind of like negotiations type of things.
When the subcommittee, and when there was a finance committee, Al, was it just town council members, or were there other people on the subcommittee?
Town manager.
The town manager. Yeah,
And
Lisa said
finance,
it's made
and
up of
Anthony.
just,
Yeah,
it was
it's
just town council.
Well, what I like the idea because I think you'd have more honest dialogue. And it's true, I feel uncomfortable right now making any decision about the fire pension. I don't know enough about it, but I think if a small group can really study it and have dialogue with the fire commission and the fire department,
That's what's
I think it would help me, and I'm sure other people, fully understand and make a better decision. And also, maybe, you know, it's possible, when we look at the budget this year, maybe we can do something. Maybe there is time to look at it for this year's budget. But if we can get it going right away, I would certainly support that.
And George, I think to your concern, anything that, it's sent from here to there. It's not like they're forming their own agenda, so the
Right.
council would send.
Their agenda is
Right.
based on what the council sends to them.
Well, I understood that, but you know, you suggested in your explanation that if they decided there wasn't any action to be taken on something, My question was, is that the decision that comes back to the town council, or
Well-
does it just not come back to the
Yeah,
town council?
but they don't take any action.
Theoretically, that's possible, but I don't see it as a practical consequence of sending something there to be discussed
Yeah.
and having no recommendation come back. When you're looking at what we are wrestling with now, which is the fire department pension, what I was troubled with at the last meeting was the idea that the pension committee was going to undertake a review and analysis and come back with a recommendation. First of all, it's not the place of the pension committee to be doing personnel. It is, on some level, a personnel issue. It's probably more appropriate to have a finance subcommittee discuss this issue with the fire department, so that what comes back to the council is not only something that's reviewed from the point of view of a personnel subcommittee of the town council looking at it, but also something that comes back in the form of a consensus of the subcommittee and the representatives of the fire department, as opposed to this town council doing it, and it kind of becomes this town council dictating to the fire department what we're going to do. That, I think, has the potential to become adversarial and non-productive, because I think a lot of members of the fire department are gonna resent that and say, hey, you guys sat up there and decided we're gonna get 22 cents instead of what we asked for, and there's no justification for it, and we never had much to say about it. The subcommittee will have the ability to devote much more time to the issue, discuss it thoroughly, hear people out, and come back with a recommendation that hopefully is gonna be a bipartisan recommendation of the fire department and that subcommittee. That's the way I look at it.
Right. I mean, we're just saying fire pension right now because that has been the issue, but it could be any issue that comes up before the council that they refer to the finance. The pressing issue right now is the fire pension. So that would definitely be the first one, the first thing that we would start on, and anything else. And I would like to, I was on the finance committee when we had it, and I would still like to serve on the finance committee.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I'd like to be on it.
I would put Joe on it.
Yeah, I'll happy to do it.
Amount to alternate, Tom.
So Joe, Rose, Tom?
And Anthony as an alternate?
Yes.
Okay.
How many members can it be?
So is that a motion? Did somebody-
We have.
Did you say yes?
Yeah, he
Yeah.
said he would, yeah, he did.
You wanna make that motion to restart the finance committee with, Rose, Tom,
Who was gonna serve on it?
Joe, Rose, John.
Tom?
Yep.
And Anthony is an alternate.
So three,
Three
and Anthony?
And Anthony
That's
is
an alternate?
Mhm.
So I'll make a motion to reinstate the finance subcommittee. Is it gonna include the town manager and the, finance director? Okay, so, to the finance subcommittee, which would include the town manager, the finance director, Rose Angeloni, Joe Fawnin, and Tom Zampano.
Second.
Anthony.
Yeah, and Anthony as a alternate.
I'll still second.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any further discussion?
No,
Roll. Roll call?
Mayor Duty,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Angeloni,
yes.
Counselor Candelora,
Yes.
Counselor Diamond.
Yes.
Counselor Fawnin,
Yes.
Counselor Miller,
Yes.
Counselor Rose,
Yes.
Counselor Viglione.
Yes.
And Counselor Zampano.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to amend the agenda to add item 9H, and, which would be the formation of a subcommittee for discussion of the fire pension.
Second.
Roll call?
Mayor Duty,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Angeloni,
Yes.
Counselor Candelora,
Yes.
Counselor Diamond.
Yes.
Counselor Fawnin,
Yes.
Counselor Miller,
Yes.
No,
Counselor Rose,
Yes.
Counselor Viglione,
Yes.
Counselor Zampano?
Yes.
Discuss. Next is award of RFP number 7, 2018-2019 fireworks for Potato and Corn Festival.
Same numbers.
Pages. 68. So I see Lawrence here, I just want, are these two new companies, or have we used?
We have used Atlas in the past.
Okay, and there's a base bid and the alternate is just a different size fireworks display, is that, or in addition to the 10,000? What was the,
On which, both bids, Rose?
yeah, I mean, they're both the same, so.
Yeah. The alternate was if we didn't wanna do the 10,000.
Oh, okay. And I saw in there that they didn't sign up, or they didn't provide a bond, either one of them. And that's not an issue, or are they going to do it?
No, not an issue. It was in respect to a bid bond and not the performance bond. We will definitely have the performance bond, but we can waive the bid
Oh.
bond. We can, yeah, more important to have the performance bond than the bid bond.
Okay, I would like to make a motion to award RFP number 7, 2018-19 fireworks for the POCO Festival 2019 to Pyrotechnico for $10,000, the base bid of $10,000.
I'll second that.
Discussion?
What's the basis on the recommendation? And it looks equal, and it just says recommended, and so I was just curious.
It's not equal in the fact that we did a spreadsheet with the different size shells, you know, different inches, 4 inches, 5 inches, 6 inches. We also did a comparison in the different prices of the shells and weighed them. So
Okay.
they go up.
All right, thank you.
Roll call?
Mayor Duty?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Angeloni?
Yes.
Counselor Candelora?
Yes.
Counselor Diamond?
Yes.
Counselor Fawnin?
Yes.
Counselor Miller?
Yes.
Counselor Rose?
Yes.
Counselor Viglione?
Yes.
Counselor Zampano?
Yes.
Thank you.
Just for the record, at 7:30, we're supposed to have a public hearing regarding the proposed ordinance 2018-3 entitled Streets and Sidewalks, but the town attorney will explain the reason.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, we're not proceeding with that public hearing this evening because there was a clerical error in the notice, and so since the notice is legally defective, we will have to renotice it.
This
We'll
is
put it on
taking
the
your
next
place
agenda.
for buying one
Thank you.
next year.
Thank you.
Yes, it's a third card
Just
this
for
year.
clarification, is there any action that has to be taken?
We didn't approve anything for next year.
No, I know.
Replace it.
We can schedule for
We've been
next year.
constantly
I
usually giving
believe,
them to every year.
since it was scheduled for this evening,
Why is it-
and we're giving notice now that it's going to be put on the next agenda, it can be carried forward just by that statement, but we'll have to
Oh, renotice.
renotice.
Okay.
Okay, next is appropriation transfers.
As Counselor Diamond had mentioned, when the police department came in for their 1920 budget review, they had some capital items. They had 2 vehicles they're looking for in next year's budget, as well as these license plate readers to put them on 2 of their patrol vehicles. In talking with Commissioner DeAndrea and Chief Lovelace, it was decided that there might be some savings in the current year in their 101 account due to some personnel vacancies, and they're proposing to purchase those now and to see how they have the funds this year to accomplish those. The second one is a small transfer by the town planner to cover some additional seminars that she went to.
Move that one.
I make a motion to approve the appropriations as noted.
Second.
But is there a representation that we're going to be looking at one car then for the next capital budget?
Yes.
Next year?
Yeah, they had originally asked for 2 next year, and the decision was to move 1 back to this year, and then to keep 1 in next year's budget.
Okay.
And also, I think the police commissioner is saying that by doing this year, they're helping other departments, maybe they're looking for something in the capital because they won't be spending what they've been asked, what they had originally asked for.
Roll call?
Mayor Duty,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Angeloni,
Yes.
Counselor Candelora,
Yes.
Counselor Diamond,
Yes.
Counselor Fawnin,
Yes.
Counselor Miller,
Yes.
Counselor Rose,
Yes.
Counselor Viglione,
Yes.
Counselor Zampiano.
Yes.
Next is financial report as of January 31st, 2019.
The financial report remains unremarkable. Again, the top line that I typically look at on tax collections. You mentioned, remember last month there was a bit of a blip, and that was caused by people that tried to pay early in 2017, the December numbers. January, we're back in line, right about on target with prior years. Overall revenue, about 1% less, but not the end of the world. And on the expense side, we're running under budget there as well. No departments are overexpended as of this point. So it's shaping up to be another good year so far.
Thank you. Tax refunds,
So moved.
Second.
discussion,
67.
Six.
roll call?
That's a tough one.
Mayor Duty,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Angeloni,
Yes.
Counselor Candelora,
Yes.
Counselor Diamond,
Yes.
Counselor Fawnin,
Yes.
Counselor Miller,
Yes.
Counselor Rose,
Yes.
Counselor Viglione,
Yes.
Counselor Zampiano.
Yes.
Next is item H, subcommittee to discuss the fire pension.
So I would like to make a motion that the first act of the finance subcommittee is to form a committee with the fire department that consists of the chief, Chief Seward, one commissioner, and a representative from each fire department. Along and to meet with the finance subcommittee, and the point would be to start discussing the pension and anything related to the fire department as far as, I know there's stipends that are paid, it's not necessarily just the pension, but it could be stipends and how everything is getting paid to our volunteer fire department. So it would encompass all of that. So, Chief, if you could meet, submit the names to the town manager, and then we will get a meeting date together. And my guess is the best for us is, because we all work, is probably like right after work. What's the earliest you can meet?
5-ish.
That's fine.
Okay, so, you can just kind of give some dates and,
Sure, my recommendation would be to make it an agenda item for the March Board of Fire Commissioners meeting,
okay,
and we'll establish it at that point.
okay, great, thank you.
And would the council object to, in that process, add into the mix the discussion on fire leases that I do with the 3 fire companies?
No, that's fine.
Okay.
That would be appropriate.
I think
mean,
would be
that's-
helpful.
That would be an appropriate topic for the
Yeah.
finance subcommittee.
Great. So when is their Chief, when is your meeting? March? March 7th. So after their, so that'd be after our meeting on the 5th.
So, yeah, so we'll just wait and see after they do their meeting on the 7th and he gets back to you, then we can come up with a
Yeah,
with a
but you don't
date.
want to wait to the second meeting, you want to have a meeting in between the meeting on the 5th and mid-March, or just wait for the March?
There isn't going to be any report at the second meeting anyway,
No.
so it could be either
Yeah.
the, whatever that is, the third week.
Yeah,
or-
okay,
Yeah, that's fine.
fine.
So the motion is on the floor that this is the topic that goes
You
to
wanna
the
second
finance
it?
subcommittee. Okay.
Discussion? Roll call?
Mayor Duty,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Angeloni,
Yes.
Counselor Candelora,
Yes.
Counselor Diamond,
Yes.
Counselor Fawnin,
Yes.
Counselor Miller,
Yes.
Counselor Rose,
Yes.
Counselor Viglione,
Yes.
Counselor Zampiano.
Yes. Next item, citizen statements and petitions.
Need one more minute. Ken Newbig, 180 Village Street. Regarding the pension again, I think I'm going to speak on behalf of the department that's, the part of the department that's here right now. And for this year, I'd like the council to strongly think about putting that 55-cent multiplier in there for the cost of $7,000 until this committee is put together and meets. I think it would be a smart move to include that in this year's budget for the for around approximately $7,000. It would keep that multiplier going as it has been in the past 4 years. What's the department think of it? Thank you.
Thank you.
Andy?
I would just say, sitting as a commissioner on the fire, for the fire
Just gotta
department.
identify yourself.
I'd like to thank the commission for considering what you did tonight, putting a subcommittee together. I think it's a great idea. It's not just money, but there's things that could be corrected as far as verbiage and pension. You know, maybe give a guy that's retired, that's 65 years old, maybe give him a 2% increase in his pension when he's retired, you know, as a cost of living. But I mean, there's a lot of things that, you know, again, I think Councilman Candelora was a big advocate of ours 4 years ago, 5 years ago, and where that 55 cents came into play. But I just want to thank you for your consideration and what your plans are for setting that committee up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Seeing none, we'll move into executive session.
Mr. Mayor, I do have one question before we go in. I saw a letter in here about someone wanting to purchase property. Was that discussed at all?
Probably executive session. This was in the packet.
Yeah, it was in this folder here.
Yeah, it was in there.
So I just thought, get it back, actual.
We put it on the next agenda.
Yeah.
Is that a motion to go in, or are we holding?
Doesn't want it unless you survey it or something.
I think Mayor Duty just suggested, I don't think a motion was needed.
There was something in here, I didn't
I'll make a
even, I
motion.
didn't have time to look
I
at
mean,
it.
move to go into
To move to
executive
executive
session.
session?
The entire town council, town manager, town attorney, and Anthony Beard.
And Counselor Rose, second.